before we get off the science, there's something I would like you to get into.
Sure.
Excuse me. And
Sure.
that's understanding the tone at which somebody is speaking. Because like you said earlier, you said your ears are your most important instrument. You got to be
Absolutely.
able to pay attention to what's going on around you.
And that's applicable. I'm sorry. That's applicable to
Mhm.
anything in life.
Yeah,
That's important to mention. But go ahead.
yeah. So when somebody's speaking, whether it be the preacher or whoever's talking, or somebody, sometimes you play music, background music, when somebody's talking for offering, they're setting it up or whatever it is.
Yep.
You're just in the backgrounds trying to stay out of the way. Now, when a woman is talking, usually the voice is pretty
Might
high,
be a higher pitch. Sure.
right? When a guy is talking, he's more like mid-range to
Mhm.
lower register,
And
right?
now also, but that's not always gender specific
No,
because
no, no,
there's a
not
lot of
always.
dudes that got
Yeah,
higher pitches and a lot of women that got lower pitches. So it
that's
depends
true.
on the pitch. But yeah, go ahead.
I know a brolic guy who has a voice like this.
Yeah.
So you
And
talking on
some
the
women that's
phone with
got
him.
some voices like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
You
is what it
know?
is.
Yeah. So what I want to get to is when somebody's talking, and I had a lot of training with this playing at a Haitian church where I grew up, was you have people doing solos, et dem chante, connaît voix pas bon, the voice is no good,
Hmm.
whatever. And you're jumping, you're following the person, you're playing, they start on C, and somehow you're on F sharp somehow by the end of the song, and you're jumping around, like you're back and forth.
And it wasn't like they were modulating, progressively as the song
Yeah,
goes. They're
yeah,
just
yeah. They were just
skipping.
singing it straight, and their
But
voice was
but
just
listen,
gone.
listen. I thank God for some of those experiences back in the
Me
day,
too.
working with like tone deaf worship leaders coming
Me
up in some
too.
of the churches that we came up with.
Uh-huh.
Because boy, they were, believe it or not, they were
That's
training our ear, bro.
bro. That
They
was
would just jump
training.
in and start singing a song, you know, because normally, like in a structured situation, the band will play an intro, or
Uh-huh.
we'll at least kind of establish the key, and then they come in or whatever. They just
Yeah.
start, but a lot of times, we're trying to set them up, and they're singing in a totally different key. You're like, oh,
Yeah. Or
oh, okay, there they are. So, but yeah, go ahead.
you play a nice intro and they come in somewhere left field. Like you're like,
Uh
Lord Jesus.
Timing off,
Bro.
pitch is off, the
You
whole
know what
the
I'm
whole thing
saying?
is off.
But like you were saying though, when after I left playing at a Haitian church, I'd play at other places. People were amazed of how I was able to just click like that when somebody changes the key.
Hmm.
Just my hands would just know. You're just tuned to it after a while because you've done it
Hmm.
so much.
Yep.
But like, explain to me how when somebody's talking, you pay attention to the tone, like the tone matching that tone to a key is really what I want you to talk about. You know what I mean?
Okay. Um.
Because I've heard preachers say, "Give me an E flat." They start talking, "Give me an E flat," and you're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, boom, E flat," and you can hear their voice is on the same level as that key, and they're not singing. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Yeah.
Hmm. And so here's what I say about in those moments. Um, it depends because certain preachers or certain speakers or whatever, especially those that are more charismatic,
Uh huh.
that 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 have a tendency to hoop. Um, hooping basically is basically you know singing your dialogue,
Yeah.
but in a gospel kind of way or in a bluesy kind of way. And so that requires a pitch. I appreciate preachers that know what key they're comfortable in, where
Mm.
they could be like, "Hey, put me in an E flat," because because if they don't have perfect pitch, then
Uh huh.
have a they at least have relative
Relative.
pitch
Yeah.
where they can hear it and they can go from there. And so which I appreciate because if you don't have perfect pitch, then I don't have perfect pitch.
Yeah. Me
But
neither.
I'm more relative pitch than perfect pitch. But if you have perfect pitch, then or if you don't have perfect pitch, then that takes a lot of the guessing work out of you trying to find where they are.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I appreciate my bishop, my pastor, he does this too, where because he's a musician, so he gets it. So what he will
Mm-hmm.
do is he will normally find his own pitch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then he'll kind of slowly kind of, sit there, which gives us an opportunity to catch them, where we need to be, But
Yeah.
I love when a preacher is, at least they know what key that. It's no different than when singers know what the actual keys of the songs they sing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that way, if you got to play behind them or you got to support them or accompany them, then it makes your job easier, which therefore makes your job easier, But
Yeah.
the thing is, if they're not hooping or speaking on a pitch, they're just talking like how we're talking. It's monotone. It's just,
Uh-huh.
we're just in a regular speaking flow. You could be anywhere.
Yeah.
What the key is understanding, like what we talked about before, what they're talking about, or the emotion of the moment, and matching the emotion more so than matching a particular pitch if they're
Pitch.
not
Yeah.
necessarily singing on a pitch. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
so, but like if it's like a preaching moment when they're tuning up, quote unquote tuning up,
Yeah.
that's when it's important to be able to match the key. But if it's just a speaking moment, then
Uh-huh.
it's more so about matching the moment, matching the emotion, or matching the intensity. That is more so about matching the key per se.
Okay. All right. So, well, not that being said, I want
Yes,
you to.
sir.
I need to. I want people to get a gauge of your experience, right? Well, we're understanding you have a wealth of knowledge. Who have you played for? Can you give us a different arenas that you've played for, so that people understand that this knowledge is not coming just from one place?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I've been fortunate to be able to play on different stages, uh, different types of churches, different arenas, with different types of artists and musicians, both secular and sacred. And so I'm not just a secular musician, but I'm also a church musician, which I love being able to do both.
Uh-huh.
And so, by the grace of God, I've been able to work with different artists, such as um, I've worked with artists like, let's say, like on the R&B side, I've worked with artists like Case. I've been an MD for him. Um, Sunshine Anderson, done stuff like Blue Cantrell,
Hmm.
Michael Sterling. I was on the road with him for a while. Um, I've done shows where we opened up for um, The Time, opened up for Shaka Khan, Aaron Neville, Bruce
Nice.
Hornsby, different platforms like that.
Hmm.
Um, um, Pat Benatar, different arenas. I've been able to play behind different artists like Eric Benet, which was a cool experience. BB Winans, which was an awesome experience.
Wow.
And so just Bishop Paul Morton, different artists like that just come to mind.
Yeah.
Um, and so um
Didn't
and
you didn't
yeah.
did I thought you went to Brazil with was it Casey and the Sunshine Man, or did that happen? Because I never
Oh,
really.
yeah, so I never did any of the Brazil shows with Casey.
Okay.
But I was asked to be a part of their band, and I was able to do some shows with them. The only thing was I couldn't stay long term with Casey because I had a lot of other commitments
Commitments.
and
Yeah.
other obligations. And so it was basically I had to choose between joining his band full time
Uh-huh.
versus,
Oh.
cutting off all of my other obligations,
Oh,
not just with the
yeah.
church, but all of my, because I had a lot of other contractual obligations and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. So it was almost like I couldn't do both. It was either one or the other. So, and there was a couple different opportunities where I could have been on the road with him again after the first time where we couldn't work out the scheduling. But again, it was my obligations
Yeah.
that I had to choose between, and I decided to stick with the obligations that I already had, which which is a great lesson and teachable moment. Sometimes you're in those valleys of decisions. You're in that valley of decision, or you're
Mhm.
that fork in the road where you have to decide between one great opportunity versus a lot of good opportunities. And
Uh-huh.
depending on where you are in life, for some musicians, it might be based on financially, like if this is really where I need to be, help me to pay my bills and pay off debts and or maybe get you out of a hole or whatever, then I get it. But sometimes it's more than just making a decision from a financial standpoint. A lot of it has to do with where you are in life, whether if you have a family and certain sacrifices that might come with it.
Yeah.
And so for some people, is it worth going on the road for 6 months with an artist and sacrificing the stuff that you have at home, because there's a chance that, okay, I might go on the road,
Yeah.
but then if I come back, who knows if those same opportunities will be there. And a lot of cases they will be, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you have to juggle, between two good options. It's easy if it's one good option versus no options.
Yeah.
But when
and
you're
those were some
juggling
great
between
options right there.
when you got some great options, that's why it's so important to be prayerful, to make sure that you're listening to the voice of God, to know what your purpose is. Like, will this lead me even closer to where I know I'm supposed to be in life and where God has me and stuff like that. So every situation is different, but that's where that discernment and hearing God, having good counsel, all those things come into play.
Listen, man, you're killing it right now, because the more you talk, the more questions are coming up, because there's so many subjects that you're bringing up that we don't have time to go into. Like when you just said just now, know what your purpose is. A lot of musicians are just gigging with no end goal. It's just, I need this money, I'm gonna gig over here. They call me here, I'm gonna go over there. And it's just like, wait, hold up. You have to know where you're going, because you work in an industry where you don't get health insurance, you don't get a pension, you don't get those securities that other
you have
places
to work
give.
that out on your own.
You got to work that out
you're
on
an
your
independent
own.
contractor. You're not an employee.
Yeah, so you have to have a plan. You're working on a 1099, bro. You you get no benefits. You have to have a plan. You can't take every gig that comes along, even if it sounds great. You have to be somewhere. There has to be something inside of you that knows, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. I can go here, but I can't go there. I may be able to go there for a short period of time, but I can't stay there. You got to have a direction where you're going, so that you don't just become one of those guys who play a million gigs, and then at the end,
Have
you
nothing
have
to show
nothing to
for it.
show for it. So I'm glad you said that. But this leads me to my next question. How do you decide, with all the experience and all the knowledge and all the things you've done, how do you decide what to charge? Because that's a huge issue with musicians. Not so
Sure.
much with the musician, much more with the people that are hiring the musician, and knowing how to negotiate that so you don't get taken advantage of.
Okay. To this day,
Uh,
full transparency, I still struggle with that.
okay.
Here's why I struggle with that. Because let me start here. It depends on what the market dictates, but honestly, when it comes to me, I rarely give a rate.
Okay.
If it's just me. Because one of the things I also do on the side, and that's under the umbrella of my entertainment company, is I also do bookings. So when I book for another artist, for another band, for another musician or whatever, there's a specific rate. Now, those rates, and even to an extent, what I would charge for myself, it's you got to do your homework on your region, the type of event that you're doing, all those different things. They play a role into what you should charge. You know what I'm saying? And so it depends on what the market dictates for what you're providing. And so now the reason why I struggle with giving someone a rate for myself is because, honestly, of course, it can't be pennies. It can't be like, oh, just giving you $100 and this, that, or whatever. Got you. But for me, most of the opportunities that I get is, going back to what we talked about before, it's been off of relationships.
Mm.
whether it's someone that I've known or worked with before, or
Mhm.
someone that was sent to me through another referral, this, that, or whatever. So if it's just me, based on the type of gig it is or whatever, first thing I'm doing is just checking my availability. If I'm available, 9 times out of 10, I'm like, sure, give me when, where, and how much, you know. And of course, you know, it's very few times that I'm being insulted with how much I'm being charged, but half the
Mhm.
time I enjoy it so much that, you know, as long as they're not insulting me with how much they're paying, half the
Mhm.
time not even half the time, most of the time I'm accepting the gig, because to me, the value, this is the point I want to get to about that. The the value of the gig
Mhm.
can't just be based on
The
the
amount.
monetary compensation.
Mm.
Compensation.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, because for some people they be like, yeah, I'm not leaving the house unless it's, you know, $200 or $500 or $1,000, whatever the gig is, whatever type of gig it is, or whatever,
Uh-huh.
which is cool. 9 times out of 10, I'm leaving the house. Here's why. Now, of course, if you can't charge me, let's say random $200, but I got to drive, you know,
Bring your
10
own
hours
keyboard.
away
Bring your
and this,
own
that, or
amp.
whatever.
Bring your own stand.
Yeah, stuff like that is, that's ridiculous, and that's not even worth bringing up. But
Yeah.
as many, because I get calls literally every week, every other day, just people calling me whether they're trying to hire me or they want me to help them find somebody for stuff like that. And
Mm.
so it's very few times that I'm insulted by, what they're charging. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
again, in this industry, you know what the going
Right.
rate might be,
Yeah. So
and
if
so on
you're
and so forth.
referring somebody, you already know this is the rate. This at
Exactly.
least this person gotta get. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, if they ask you, hey, how much would it be for you to do this gig or do this show or do this tour or whatever, then
Mhm.
again, do your homework, make sure that you're
Not
charging a fair
lowballing
amount.
yourself. Uh-huh.
You don't want to lowball, you don't want to overshoot too. So it's a little bit
Mhm.
of a dance. It's a little bit of a dance, but you got to do your research, because different markets, it's different.
Yeah.
But for me, the thing that I tell musicians, especially like young cats that I mentor, that ask me, yo, how much should I charge this, that, or whatever, I'm like, of course you shouldn't go across the state for $100, because you're burning that on gas,
On
on,
gas.
just
On
getting there or
snacks.
whatever. So
Yeah.
exactly, on snacks, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
By the way,
I wouldn't.
by the way, people have tried to say that we'll feed you if you play this gig. And I'm like, I got food at the house. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
exactly.
I'm not
Yeah,
begging for food now.
no, 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 exactly.
Yeah.
But the point that I wanted to make is this: I look at every opportunity as a seed.
Mm.
It's not just, oh, I'm getting paid X amount of dollars, so that's the only value that I get from the experience.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes the residual effect that I get from the experience is, oh wow, they liked you enough, or they liked how well you did on that one experience, where they're calling you again for 10 more shows. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe somebody else in that audience saw you, like, yo, let me get your card. I like the way you play, or I like the way you sang, or I want to book your artist, or I want to book your band. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of times it becomes a reverberating effect, where you're getting residual compensation opportunities
yeah.
just from that one. So there's times I might take there's times where I might take a gig that might be below what my normal average, rate would be, my going rate would go for. But I took
Uh-huh.
it just because, yo, for me, sometimes I'm like, I'd rather make that money than sit home and not make no money.
True.
Again, not as long as it's not like pennies and it's not ridiculous, or they're just paying me with exposure, or you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying. But I
That's
found
some other
that
tricks.
exactly. But it's amazing to me that I've seen that when I was more willing to take the gig,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just showed up, try to be professional, try to make sure I'm prepared, making sure that I have good equipment, making sure that I'm gelling and creating a good bond with those that I'm working with, or what have you, making sure that I create a good bond with those that, not just on stage but off the stage.
Mm.
Whether you're at a venue, having a good relationship with the managers and the staff, because I'm gonna give you a little secret sauce. If you're doing, now, let's talk secular.
Let's
If you're
go.
doing a secular gig,
Mhm.
especially if you're doing like a club, a lounge, those types of things or whatever, especially if it's a venue that has other bands,
Mm.
And especially if it's a venue where you might be there on a regular basis. Two things. Number one, try not to do the same thing every time, because you
Okay.
know there's certain things that you might do that's your bread and butter, and people come to see you do that or whatever. But always try to mix it up a little bit so that way you're not too predictable. That's one. But number two, don't play for the audience.
Oh, okay.
Play for the staff.
Play for this. Okay, you gotta
when
unpack
when
that.
I'm doing if I have a residency, let's say at a and luckily I don't do dive bars or hole in the walls or whatever. I mostly do like high end. If I'm doing a club or a nightclub lounge or whatever, country club, where it's like a residency, I'm there every month, on a regular basis on some sort of rotation. I always go with I'm trying to, I want the people to enjoy it. So I'm entertaining the people, getting them engaged, getting them hyped, make sure I'm playing the songs that they want to hear. If it's
Okay.
a up, if it's a lively, venue where people like to dance and get up, keep the dance floor pumping, all that good stuff, getting people hyped, all that good stuff. But my objective, more so than that, supersedes just trying to entertain the crowd. I'm also trying to entertain the staff. Here is why. Because the staff has more, from my experiences, the staff has more say so in you coming back. If the staff likes you, then when they have their staff meetings once a week on Monday mornings or whatever,
Wow.
because a lot of times the
Wow.
managers are like, so guys, they're doing their briefings and their reports and how did last week go, or how did certain nights go, or how certain events go, or whatever. I make sure I make the staff happy, because they're the ones that have the ear of the key holders or the decision makers, because they're the ones that said, yo, when that band is playing, when that artist is there, we make money. When that band is there, they're not playing too loud. Because a lot of times I hear that too. Oh, yeah, that band was good, but they just play so loud. Or
Yeah.
or maybe they don't like the song selection or
Yeah.
whatever the case might be. Because a lot of times with the patrons, with the customers, uh, they have a lot of say input too, because
They're
some people
reacting. Yeah.
they're reacting, and some
Yeah.
I've noticed that some venues, they know when people come specifically for that band and for that artist. So which says a lot to, like, yo, I know when this band or when this artist is there, it draws. It's no different than promoters for like major concerts
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Live
Yeah. Yeah.
Nation or
Yeah.
Ticketmaster. They The reason why they'll get Ariana Grande or Beyonce or Chris Brown or Maroon 5 or U2 or whomever, for an arena, because they know, yo, they bring
Yeah.
a crowd,
They bring a
or
crowd.
whatever.
Yeah.
However, that's great. But the thing is, the staff has, believe it or not, in a lot of ways has more influence or say so in you coming back, if it's like a regular gig or regular rotation. You know what I'm saying? And so if it's a private event, like at a country club, at a hotel, at a resort, I make sure I make those event planners and those event coordinators and those banquet managers happy, because a lot of times you could be great, but if
Uh-huh.
if off the stage you're unprofessional, you're late, you got a bad attitude, you're not
Hmm.
doing the things that that they need for you to do, or if you're just being lackadaisical or whatever.
That's
That's the
that
stuff that
lack
they're
of
watching.
likability.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
likability, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or and so yeah, maybe but what see, that's the thing. If it's a private event, I'm already here, the money's already been deposited, I'm here because the client already likes me and already likes my band. So that part of the job is done. If I'm doing a private event like a wedding, a corporate event, um, different things like that, private party, I'm
Hmm.
trying to make sure that I make that event planner and those key holders happy, because I, if the band is good, the band's going to already take care of the stage. I got to make
Hmm.
sure what's going on behind the stage is
Behind the
on point,
scenes. Yeah.
because they're the ones that's going to make you a preferred vendor, and
Hmm.
make sure that when new clients come aboard and they need recommendations for a band or for an artist for their next event, their next wedding, their next conference or whatever, the
Yeah.
gatekeepers are the ones that are like, yo, hire this band.
This guy
Not just
right
because
here.
the
Yeah.
band is good, but because the band's professional, they're on
Hmm.
point, they're likable, they know how to conduct themselves off the stage. Because one thing I've realized, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but
No,
one
no,
thing
go
I've
ahead.
realized, what you do off stage
Probably
actually
matters
goes
more than what you
further
do on
than
stage.
what you do on stage.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I'm sorry. Perfect example. Not everyone has this personality, and I get it. But Cloud, you know me. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I like to shake babies and kiss hands.
You
You know
you
what I'm saying? And
you're a
so
politician in that way. It's good.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
I'm on the campaign trail trying to garner support. And so, but here's the thing. So let's say if I'm doing, and this actually works in church too, but I'll get to that in a second. So let's say if I'm doing a club gig, a local venue, a local establishment, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
To me, here's the thing about being an independent contractor that you have to understand, and being an entertainer overall.
Okay.
Since you're not an employee, you cannot have an employee mentality when you're there. An
Ooh.
employee mentality is that I'm being paid for the hours that I work. And then when
Mm.
I'm on break, I'm on break. I'm not being
Uh-huh.
paid for my break. I'm just being paid for the work that I perform.
Okay.
Just like if I'm on stage, if I'm an employee, I do my set, break.
You out.
When I go on break, cats go outside, they catch a little smoke break or,
Uh-huh.
drink break, or they go in
Drink
their
whatever.
car
Uh-huh.
or whatever. But to me, that's an opportunity for me to put the real work in. The real work is talking to the people on the floor, walking around. Sometimes I don't even have to engage it. People know you on stage, and then when you get off, they're like,
They want to
"Hey,
talk to you. Yeah.
hey, aren't you in the band? Yo, I love the band, or
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that
yeah.
song that you guys love." And then that gives you an opportunity to get to know who they are. So I ask them, "Hey, what's your name? Where are you from?" And I always do this. Yo, got a request? Anything you want to hear?
Uh-huh.
And then next thing you know, they'll say something like, "Oh man, it's me and my wife's anniversary, and we love
I
At
seen you do
Last
this.
by
I
Etta
seen you
James.
do
Can you
this. Yeah.
guys?" Yeah. So I'm like, so let's say I probably wasn't even thinking about that song,
Uh-huh.
but that person was like, "Yo, that's our favorite song. That was a song we danced to at our wedding." So I'm like, you know what? Say no more. I get on stage. I'm telling the band, yo, it's Jack and Jill's, 25th wedding anniversary. So they want to hear At Last. So maybe that wasn't on the set list, but
Yeah.
because it's their anniversary and
Uh-huh.
it's the song that they danced to at their wedding, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yo, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Jack and Jill. It's their 25th anniversary. Like, yeah. And then so I try to hype that moment up, give them a spotlight. And then I will do the song. If we do it, especially if, of course, the band has to know it. But if the band knows it, um, and it don't matter if we've done that song a million times, which we have. For that couple, it
Yeah.
means the world to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It's the
saying?
first
And I
time
try
they're
to
hearing it from you, regardless.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so it creates a moment that they will always remember and always cherish. I do the same thing with birthday shout outs. I make a big deal. Yo, it's Paskinel's birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Paskinel. And they start, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
so maybe we'll do a happy birthday song or whatever. But different moments like that, where you're willing to, like they say in television, break that fourth wall and make the people feel like they're a part of the show.
Mm.
That's golden. So not only
Mm.
have you created possibly and potentially a new fan, but that particular, not only will they start supporting you and start coming out and coming to your events, which the venues notice, but that might be next. I get off stage, Jack and Jill's like, "Man, you guys are great. Listen, we're about to do our 25th wedding anniversary renewal. We would love for you to be the band for our wedding, or our daughter's getting married next year.
Uh-huh.
We like to book you for our wedding, or book you for our concert, or book you for this tour." That's why I always take them time out to put the work in off stage. So I interact with the people, get their names. I try to remember their names.
Uh-huh.
Next thing you know, you've organically built a following, build a fan base, build a group of supporters that, because you took the time to make them special, oh oh they will support you and patronize your product and patronize your service. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
those are like little things that I always try to encourage people to do, because it helps even in church. Because a lot of times where worship leaders, musicians, singers, psalmists, the knack that or the stereotype that comes is that sometimes we have a superstar mentality.
True.
And sometimes, truth be told, the congregation feeds it. To
They
be
do.
fair,
They
they
do.
do. They hype
They
you
do.
up and they and this that or whatever. But
Uh-huh.
that's a different story. But what I try to do is that when I'm off stage, or off the pulpit or whatever, I'm very careful with how I interact with the people. So when I walk by people, I stop and say hi. You don't have to even have a conversation. Just be like, "Hey, sister so and so. Hey, brother, good to see
Yeah.
you." You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? "Hey, how's the family?" Even if it's a small talk, even if it's just a wave and a wink or whatever, just little things like that that make you personable. So that way, because I realize, and I'll say this and I'll shut up. I realize,
You don't have to,
especially
man.
in the church setting,
Uh-huh.
the way they perceive you will dictate how they receive you.
True.
If they perceive you as humble, and if they
Hmm.
perceive you as engaging, and they don't perceive you as being stuck up and and conceited and all caught up in yourself or whatever, then when you go on stage, then they'll receive you more.
Yeah.
Because now, especially because it's a little bit more sensitive in the church setting, because
Hmm.
in that spotlight, it's not about how great my gift is or I'm here to show off my musical ability. It's about pointing people towards God. We're just an
Yeah.
instrument, and we just hope that God plays through us. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
sings through us, you know?
Yeah.
And so having that humility, but also being down to earth, you don't want to be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good,
Earthly
that
good.
expression. That if people feel like they can relate to you, they seem that you seem nice and you seem personable and you seem engaging. Again, you don't not I get not everyone's like, some people are very shy, and I get that. But you don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
walk around like you're arrogant, or you're too good to talk to people, or too good to say hi to people, because that will work against you when you do have the spotlight,
Yeah.
and people will be more forgiving to you. Let's say if you mess up or you sing off or you just had a bad day, sometimes people will be more forgiving because they like you.
They like you. That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
true.
less critical.
And to that point, I got to a point when I used to I when I walk into a church. Let's say you're done playing and you're going to get some water or whatever. I make it a point, if I go, the church I played at, they had a downstairs kitchen or whatever area where people would eat or whatever. I make it a point, if I see a group of people sitting, I shake hands with everybody and say hi to everybody.
I do that too.
And it
I
got
do
to a
that
point
too.
where it's a big place down there, and there's people lined up from one end to the other, and I would
Hey,
say hi to everybody.
it
And
just
my
hit
wife
me.
got to a point where she was
Yeah.
like, "Yo, why you gotta say hi to everybody? Like, you make me feel like I'm the mean one because I just wave." But for me, because of my position, I find it important to make everybody feel important. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna walk by you because you're not such and such person. Because if I
Exactly.
walk by you and I go say hi to that person next to you, I say nothing to you, that's a slight. Even if I don't mean it, it's
Because
going
you
to
don't
make
know
me
how they're
feel a
gonna
certain
take it.
way. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all because of the position I play
But it
at
just
that
hit me
venue.
though. It just hit me. I think
Yeah,
that helps. Not only just because of the position that you and I might play in those scenarios, but it has a lot to do with how we were raised as Haitians.
okay, say that.
We were taught in our culture as
Uh-huh.
a child, when you walk into a room and there's adults in the room, you
You
gotta
got
greet everybody in that room.
That's true.
You
That's true.
gotta you gotta kiss all the women on the cheek, and you gotta shake all the men in the hands. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, that's
You
true.
gotta shake hands with all the men.
I
And
didn't
so
remember that. I didn't remember
yeah,
that. You're
yeah,
right.
oh yeah,
You're
it's
right.
it's big in our culture where because we were taught that it's disrespectful
To
if you
walk,
walk
yeah,
into a room and not greet people,
yeah,
because
that's
because
true.
it looks like you're being rude
Yeah,
and dismissive.
yeah.
Especially our culture is really big on, like,
Respect.
children respecting adults, and honoring adults, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And so if we were to pull back the layer beyond just our position, I think that's basically a byproduct of how we were raised. To
that's
this
true.
day, I feel like I'm doing something wrong if I walk into, I don't care if it's 100 people, I gotta say hello with it. If I can't shake your hand, and if you're across the room, I gotta at least wave, or
Yeah,
at least acknowledge your presence, and
yeah,
not just walk in like I'm the star and y'all waiting for me.
yeah, and show a smile, a welcoming, a warm smile, or whatever it is, whatever
Whatever.
you
But
can
that
give.
that
It's
goes a long way.
important, man.
Goes a long way.
Well, so this brings us to my next question for you, man. How do you internalize the fame that comes with being a musician? Because when you're a musician, you could be in a small venue, a big church, a small
Mm-hmm.
church, a rinky-dink bar, a big lounge. People gravitate to you. The fact that you stand behind the instrument, and especially if you play it well, when you play an instrument well, forget about it. Forget about it. So how do you internalize that, and you know, how do you deal with that?
Um, for me, it's the constant reminder that what I do is not who I am.
Ooh, okay. Yo, get some organ behind you, son. Come on now.
Yeah, what I do is not who I am, because I believe that if you become defined by what you do,
Mm,
then if you're ever in the predicament where you're unable to do that thing, whether temporarily or permanently, then um, you become susceptible to losing your identity
uh-huh.
because you were more caught up in your image.
Ooh, okay.
And see, as artists, there's this constant battle between our persona and our person,
Yeah.
because a lot of times we feel like we have to live up to how people perceive us, you know. And
That's
so
huge. That's a huge thing for artists, musicians, period, man.
exactly, I remember, I got to tell you the story because you know my bishop, Bishop AJ Wright, my
Yeah.
pastor, because you came
Oh,
up under him
yeah.
before you moved to New York as well. And I remember this story when he first brought me in to be his musical director. And if anybody knows my bishop, uh, he's a renowned musician, artist, uh, producer. He's worked with some of the biggest stars in sacred music and in
Uh-huh.
secular music.
Uh-huh.
He's worked with people from Yolanda Adams to En
Yeah.
Vogue. You know what I'm saying? And so, and a lot of in between. And so there was already a
And,
commonality
and
because
and 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 not to forget, if you're playing for him, he knows his stuff. You can't
he knows
fool.
the stuff. So that's when the good news and the bad news is the same news. When your leader is already an accomplished musician,
You got problems, bro. You're
there's
not
stuff
gonna throw anything at him. He's gonna
there's
look
stuff
at
that you
you.
can't get away with that you would normally get away with someone that has lesser musical ability as your leader.
Yeah, bro.
But because he's already a musician, he's already been there, done that, got the
Mhm.
T-shirt, the whole nine. There's already a commonality because a lot of things that I'm either doing and or aspiring to do, he's already been there.
Already done. Yeah.
He's already
Yeah.
done. And so, which I love because that creates a great mentorship relationship
Yes.
with him. Um,
Yes.
and so I can
Which
come to
is
him about
which
anything.
is actually something most church musicians lack,
Don't, yeah,
mentorship. Because
exactly,
usually it's you're doing it, you're figuring it out as you go in most church settings. Most pastors don't, you know, we grew up in most of the same situations where as long as music is playing, some people don't care. Because as long,
exactly,
like they say in Creole, if you want that's it. It's a
exactly.
party.
But a lot of those people in those particular settings, they're not as musically trained,
Yeah.
or sometimes their um, their standard for music is low.
Yes. No. Before I go any
Hmm.
further, no shade on my Haitian churches because we have some Haitian
Absolutely,
churches that are absolutely on point. I'm
absolutely,
saying from my experiences, from places I've played, not all the places I've played, because I've played at some American places, churches, where it's like this is
absolutely.
a show. This is this is
Hmm.
just chaos. People jumping,
Exactly.
doing all kinds of stuff just because they feel like it. So
Yeah. So yeah. So
please
so
don't.
low so
Yeah.
low musical standards or high musical standards is not necessarily race specific or
Yeah.
nationality
Or culture
specific.
or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not just one particular nationality has monopolized, you know, either being low, having low standards when it comes to musical excellence, or having high standards when it comes to musical excellence.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we share some of the same experience we're growing up, where sometimes the bar was kind of low.
Yeah.
They're just, a lot of times they're just happy just to have somebody on the instrument, you know what I'm saying, or having someone behind the mic. And so, but here's the thing that I learned from my bishop. The first time we actually had a sit down meeting, even though we kind of knew each other before, but our first sit down meeting, he said this to me. He was like, "Hey man, I know you're a professional musician. I get it. I've been there myself. That's your bread and butter. That's how you make your living.
Hmm.
Not only do I understand it, but I support it. that was like, and that was a big shift coming up
That's a breath of fresh
from
air,
our
bro.
upbringing, where it was shunned upon for a church musician to be doing secular gigs
Or even to play at another church.
or to play another church. That was like
Or you
sacrilegious
could play at
almost.
the sister church and it was a problem, bro.
It was a problem. You know what I'm saying? And so, but definitely if you're doing like secular music, because they look at it like, oh, you're playing worldly music and you're playing the devil's music. Oh,
Yeah.
whatever. Gotcha. But he was, but coming from the church, the Haitian church that I came out of that shunned it, and then coming to this American church that not only did they understand it, but they embraced it and supported it. Because I had members of my church. I was like, hey man, heard you're a musician, heard you got a band. And my natural defense mechanism was like, oh, really? And so I'm scared they're about to be like, you shouldn't be doing that, and you should be, playing for the Lord, and you shouldn't be playing the devil's music. It was the opposite. They were like, hey, when you performing next, me and the prayer team want to come out and support you. I was like, what?
The prayer team?
So the prayer team at my old church were praying against my gigs versus the prayer team at my new American church
is in the booth praying for you at the bar.
They reserved a table in VIP, to show support, and, which I love. But to go back to my story with my bishop, when we sat down, he sat me down. And he was like, "Listen, I know you do your gigs. That's how you make your money. That's your livelihood. Not only do I understand it, but I support it. And I got your back." Yeah. He said, "But just remember this one thing: play the gig, but don't let the gig play you."
I remember that.
Remember that? He was like, "Play the gig, but don't let the gig play you." Basically, what he was saying was that don't lose yourself, doing what you do, because especially as someone that does have I'm deeply rooted in my faith. It's important that, that my light so shines so that they could see my good works and glorify God. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, and I truly believe that God has graced me and so many others to be able to work in both arenas, because God can trust me to be a light in a dark room, in a dark place. You know what I'm saying? Because it's either I let my light shine so I can illuminate the atmosphere, or I allow the darkness of that atmosphere to cause me to dim my light.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that was the whole thing when he was like, yo, play the gig, but don't let the gig play you. Don't lose yourself doing it, because people lose themselves doing this. Not just secular, even in the church. A lot of people lose themselves because, oh, I got a title because I'm a pastor. Oh, I got 2,000 or 5,000 members, or or I'm a recording artist that just, won all these Grammys and Stellar Awards and Dove Awards or whatever. So it works, no matter where, because it has more to do with who you are than is what you're doing or what arena that you're in. So you can't lose yourself. Back to what we're saying, don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself in the what. You know what I'm saying? Because the what can be taken away. What did we learn from this pandemic? When everything shut down, what was the first? So two of the biggest industries that were affected the most was the entertainment industry and the church industry.
Yeah.
Because we had to shut down all the way.
Shut down. Everything is gone.
You know what I'm saying? Tours gone, shows, a lot of, most churches all over had to mostly go virtual, so a lot of us lost a substantial amount of our income and our livelihood because, we were so busy. I'm used to doing like 20 shows a month. I've been doing 20 shows a month by the grace of God since 2003. For about 15, 16 years, I've been averaging anywhere between 15 and 20 shows a month on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? And to have that shut down all the way where I was doing no gigs,
no shows.
The only thing that kept me from sinking to a low place was the fact that I remembered that who I am is not predicated on what I do. So if you take away the what, you will never be able to take away my who. You know what I'm saying? And so it causes you to kind of get into that place where, okay, well, how do I redefine, my new reality? You know what I'm saying? And you kind of, you do certain things that I hope would, make you better and take advantage of whatever the situation might be. But I think what happened with a lot of musicians, with a lot of artists, is that they got so caught up in what they did that when what they did was taken away, they lost who they were, and that can lead you to that whole spiral of like depression and self-pity and self-loathing, maybe even being suicidal, because you invested so much of who you are into what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we put our hope, like the Bible talks about how we put a lot of our hope on the things that are temporal versus the things that are eternal.
Eternal. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
You disconnect from yourself. Just to the best example of that is Dave Chappelle, right? They asked, I forgot who he was talking to. I think it was the Breakfast Club or whoever, and he said that was it the Breakfast Club? I don't remember who it was, but
sure.
the statement is just this: I don't mind being famous, but I do not want to be a celebrity. What do you mean? He said, because when you're a celebrity, when you're famous, it's cool. People know you and you're cool, whatever, you're being yourself. Or, it's the notoriety is nice. It feels good. When you're a celebrity, you have to be a certain type of person. You got to put on a show no matter how you feel, wherever you are, you have to be, you got to be on. The light switch is always on. You can't turn it off.
You're not allowed to have a bad day.
Yeah, you're not allowed to.
Because so if you have a bad day, let's say you're just in a funky mood, maybe something tragic or something bad happened to you or whatever, and then someone comes up to you like, hey man, you're so and so, can I get a picture? You're like, oh no, I'm sorry, not today, or whatever. Next thing you know, they're on the blogs. Oh, like, oh, so and so, he's a jerk and he's all that, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, what this actually brings us to our next question, bro, because they're connected. Just to rehash, don't lose yourself in what you do is the main point of that. Just don't lose yourself in what you do. Stay true to yourself. Don't let what you do become who you are. Because if that gets taken away for whatever reason, medical, natural disaster, whatever, pandemic, there goes you. But here's my other question. How do you handle the female attention? That's a huge problem with musicians, especially at church. I'll tell you mine, right? Because when I was starting to play gigs or whatever, I had this rule. The rule was I don't mess with any girl that's in the circle, the church, in the area where I'm working. I don't care. You can be cute.
I'm with you. I try not to dip my pen in the company ink. Absolutely. It saves you a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Saves you a whole lot of drama. I'm trying to tell you.
For real. Now, I was never one for drama, politics.
Same here.
Whole a group of friends, that's a circle, and like all the drama. I was never with that. I was like, yo, instead of getting into that, let me be alone right here. I'll be cool with everybody, but like I'm not getting into that. So my rule was always, if I play for a group, if I play for a church, if I play for a choir, whatever, wherever I'm at, the women in that sphere, you're off limits.
Yep, me too.
Off limits. I say hi to you, whatever, but you're off limits.
Absolutely.
Now, I am actually married to somebody that I met while playing in a group, right? But
shouts out to Kathleen.
Yes, but how that happened was I was playing for the group first, right? And we went somewhere. The place is lounge called Solomon's Cove or something down in Bed-Stuy, right? Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Bed-Stuy till I die.
Yeah. So I'm there playing, and I see this person walk in and with like 2 or 3 of her friends, and she's sitting there, bro. It was like a movie. It's like there was this halo around it. But the room was dark. The room was dark, but somehow, I don't know, because she light skinned or whatever, but like there was
they're in season right now.
Her head. She was just bright and shining. And I only saw her for a second. I was playing and I saw them coming in. I saw her walking. And my very first thought when I saw her was, man, I could really love that girl. And then right then, I put my eyes back down and I started playing and didn't really pay her any more attention to the rest of the night till we're leaving. The band leader, the singer who I was playing with, happened to be friends with her and introduced us. But even after that day, we didn't speak for months. I didn't even get her number, nothing. And then one day we're at rehearsal. She shows up and she's like, the lead the person we were playing for said that she's joining the band.
Hmm.
So you can
Hmm.
imagine how I felt. I was like, it's gonna be interesting. I might have to break this rule right here.
Sure, sure.
Long story short, we got married, 2 kids
Hmm.
made. But the main point is wherever you don't, you know what, where you live or where you work
Absolutely.
or whatever.
Hmm.
So talk to us about that, man. What's your take on that, man?
Okay. Remember when I said uh, when we were talking about being nervous and stuff like that, or being on stage? Remember when I said uh, competence breeds confidence?
Confidence, yeah.
So let me add another word to that expression. So competence breeds confidence,
Mm-hmm.
which therefore breeds compliments.
Oh, okay,
All
okay.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So competence, how good you do something,
Yeah, huh.
will breed confidence,
Make you
how good
confident.
you feel about doing that,
Uh-huh.
which will therefore breed compliments, which basically is people's approval of how good you're doing what you're doing. See, I understand that most times the attention we get is because we're on a stage, and it's because we're on a platform.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Especially if you mess around and you're actually good at what you're
What
doing
you
or
do?
effective at what you're doing. So it's deeper than just being a musician or an artist.
Yeah.
You could be a preacher, you could be a teacher
I've
at
had
a
one of my
college
pastors
or
say
or
that to me
yeah,
in New York. One of my American pastors say that to me. He was like, "Man, one of the reasons why he asks prayer warriors to pray for him after he preaches is because women, after he's done walking in the parking lot, women come in droves trying to talk to him under the guise of advice or prayer or whatever, and it very quickly can turn into what they actually were there for. Because
absolutely.
a man, the man is commanding presence. He can speak. He has a position. He has power. He has charisma. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like
psychologically, the whole thing of other people are drawn to you too makes you even that much more attractive.
that's true.
Because we talk about the anointing, you know, in the church setting. And the thing about the anointing is this: beyond just the fact that the anointing is God's grace on your life to be effective in your calling and the specific assignment that He's placed for you to accomplish. Um, Part of the anointing is being attractive, because the anointing is attractive.
Mhm.
It's an attractive, and I'm not just talking about sexually attractive. I'm
No,
just
no,
talking about
no.
just attractive,
You're
period.
drawn to it.
You're drawn to people
Yeah.
that are not only just gifted and charismatic, because being charismatic has a lot to do with your own personality and the way that you express yourself.
Mhm.
But the anointing, when you see God using you, or God's hand on your life, and you're being effective in whatever that is, it's attractive. And again, but it's not just regulated to the church arena. Whether
Yeah.
you could be a teacher at a college or a school. You could be,
Mhm.
you know, you know, I don't know. You could be the dean of university or whatever. Because people, you could be a politician.
Yeah.
You could be a doctor in a in a
You
in
could
a
be a
hospital.
manager or supervisor.
You could be a manager or supervisor. Power, success, um, prestige, accomplishment,
Mhm.
or just having a position is attractive,
Yeah. Whether you sometimes even if you're not good at it.
even if you're not good at it. But just the fact that you've gotten there, it causes you to get attention. And so for me, like with you, I'm with you. Like, even to the point where I've been accused of, someone probably thought I was gay, because I
What?
wasn't known to be trying to hook up with, because sometimes
Oh,
I'd
man.
be at church, I'm with you too, like I try to have blinders on,
Yeah.
like the horses in a race,
Wait,
you
let me
know,
say this.
where
Anybody who said who thought you were gay for any reason really doesn't know El Presidente. You know what I'm saying? They don't know. So
don't
no,
tell nobody. Some stuff we got,
Ahmed,
that's stuff that some
Ahmed.
of that stuff. But I got you, because trust me, yeah. And I'm not acting like I've been oblivious and perfect when it comes to my interaction with women,
No.
or of members of the fairer sex, I should say,
Mhm.
But I've always made that a point to not, like we said before, not dip my pen in the company ink, because it saves me a lot of drama, a lot of this, a lot of that. Now, if it's someone that like how you said with you and your lovely wife. If it was a situation where it's like you're drawn to her, she was drawn to you, and it became developed into a relationship or something serious or whatever, that's different. But
Mhm.
as far as like casual relationships or
Yeah.
acquaintances or hookups, I try to stay away from that within my circle, because that saves a lot of drama, a lot of potential headache if things go awry and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And plus, too, I felt like especially musicians and artists. But it goes the same for like preachers, politicians, public speakers, anybody that's on a platform. Uh, but specifically musicians and artists, uh, and people that work in some sort of entertainment. We already get the stereotype of being, you
Mhm.
know, of being,
Rolling Stones players.
yeah, Rolling Stones. Wherever we lay our hat is our home,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I've always felt like, and I've always felt this even when it comes to just being a black man, or being a Haitian man or whatever that I represent. I always feel like I had this responsibility
Responsibility.
to try to fight against any negative stereotype that automatically comes with being who I am before people even get to know me.
Yeah.
So, case in point, when I started playing at my current church, the same church that you worked with me at, years ago,
Hmm.
the last thing I was doing was trying to check out, who was singing
Yeah.
in the choir, or what pretty girl just joined the church, and during
Yeah.
the altar call, or who's sitting in the back with that tight dress.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of my buddies like, yo, you see so and so? I'm like, nope, nope, didn't
Yeah.
even notice.
Especially,
Because
especially when you're sitting there and it's offering time and everybody's walking past the musicians. All the girls are walking.
exactly, it's
Like you ever notice the girls never walk on that other side of the aisle? It's be like one, two,
oh
three of them. But where the band is though, they just be tight dresses,
yeah,
booty,
exactly,
booty pants, whatever it is they're wearing,
whatever it
just
is.
walking right past you, bro.
But again, it goes back to not losing the what, or not losing the who in your what.
Uh-huh.
Because again, you have to understand that a lot of that comes, yeah, maybe you're good looking, maybe you're talented, maybe you got charisma and all that good stuff. Maybe you have all
Speaking
that,
of
maybe you
charisma,
got,
bro, I gotta tell people, I gotta tell this about you, bro. You're a smooth dude, son. You're a smooth dude.
oh, shucks.
Listen, man, you be using words like illustrious and all kinds of stuff, and the women just be like, "What? What? You just called me illustrious?"
Indubitably,
And
stuff like that.
yeah,
Sure. And all those things could be true. Maybe you're a smooth talker, maybe you're good looking, maybe you're a nice dresser, maybe you're charismatic and you got the personality and this, that, or whatever. But understand too, a lot of that attention that we might get from the opposite sex, you have to factor in that a lot of it, honestly, is because of that position that you're in. You know what I'm saying? That's why we know a lot of guys. You ever seen like a lot of celebrities that ain't good looking, but they
mhm.
got the most beautiful partner, you know, you know, but a lot
Don't
of it
say
is
nobody's
because,
name. Don't say nobody's
yeah,
name.
I'm not gonna make, because beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So so the names will be changed to protect the innocent. You know what I'm saying? But what it is that because I realized this, especially with my years dealing in the music industry and working with artists and working with different people in those arenas, that regardless of how good looking and smooth you are, whatever, you get more attention when
Mhm.
you're successful, or when you're on a platform, when you're on a stage, when you're performing and entertaining and public speaking, whatever the case might be. You will you ain't got to say nothing.
You
Just the
don't.
fact that you're doing what you're doing in an elevated position
Uh-huh.
makes women or people of your opposite sex or same sex in some situations, whatever, but you already get attention because of the elevated position that you're operating in. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you got to remember that if that's true, then I can't get caught up in that, because what happens if I don't have that position anymore?
That's true.
If I'm not performing anymore, if I'm not on someone's stage anymore, if I don't hold that position anymore or whatever, then if I remember, this is one of my favorite quotes. I think it was Jeff Van Gundy. He used to be an NBA coach. He coached for your Knicks some years ago. He said this.
Who's Knicks?
Your Knicks.
My who?
You know, the team that plays in Madison Square Garden. Your Knicks.
I don't claim the Knicks. I love New York, but I don't claim.
Well, it's not. Yeah, the Knicks haven't been much to claim since the '70s, but that's another conversation for another day. So no judgment. I got you. No judgment. I hate the Knicks myself, but no judgment. You know, shouts out to the Miami Heat, but that's another conversation. Okay, but Jeff Van Gundy said this. He said this. I'm trying to make sure.
I'm a Popovich fan, by the way. I'm just saying.
I got you.
First fan.
Jeff Van Gundy said this. He said, if you don't let the cheers define you, then the criticisms won't destroy you.
Ooh, say that again.
If you don't let the cheers define you, then you won't let the criticisms destroy you, or you won't let the boos destroy you, or you won't let the lack of attention destroys you, or the lack of approval, or the lack of opportunities, or you being fired from that job or losing that position. If those things did not define you, then they can't destroy you if they're not there anymore.
Wow.
So
that's very true.
That's why I try not to get caught up in the female attention. Do I love it? Yeah. Does it stroke my male ego? Yeah. Absolutely. I'm still a man at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And I love the ladies. Shout out to all the lovely ladies out there. It's your boy. So I love the ladies. Trust me when I tell you. So I'm not I'm trying not to come across like I'm holier than thou, like I haven't made my mistakes and I haven't, had my indiscretions, because we'll just keep it real. I have, just like many other, many of our other counterparts. But I try not to get caught up in thinking that that all of that attention is just because of Richard. A lot of times it's not so much of Richard as it is because of the platform or the positions or the opportunities that Richard's in or has accomplished. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And so that's why I try not to get so caught up in their approval and their praise, or they're sliding me their phone numbers, or sliding in my DMs or whatever, because truth be told, sure, the attention's great and we're human, so we're susceptible to, being, fueled by it. But then what happens when it's not, you're no longer, let's say if you're like Moses, you're on the backside of the mountain and you ain't got millions of people following you. You know what I'm saying? That's when you have to really be secure in who you are and whose you are. You know what I'm saying? So that way that, whether people are cheering for you, clapping for you, trying to hook up with you or trying to meet you in your hotel room or whatever, you're not moved or swayed by that, because at the end of the day, they don't define who I am. No. Me and God defines that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. There's so much we could talk about just that subject alone, with all the many things that's happened. Not like you said, not just with musicians, anybody in position. You said something that was very important. Like, if you don't have the position, a lot of the times, most of the time, 99% of the time, the attention goes away.
Yeah, happens.
It goes away. It doesn't even matter who you are. Like, it's just like, you ever notice when you have a girlfriend, chicks be all on you, and when you ain't got nobody, you can't find nobody. It's just, you don't understand why it is, but it's just how it is.
You know how they say, like, when you're trying to find a pen to write with, you can never find one.
Yeah.
But whenever you don't need one, there's pens lying all over the place.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Because I remember when I'm formally married, but when I was married, I saw that I was getting more attention when I had a wedding ring on.
Yeah.
Than I was when I didn't have a wedding ring on.
That's true.
Because part of it, it's almost like psychologically, it's like, if he's taken, then there must be something about him that makes him worth being taken, which makes you more attractive. As opposed to if you're available, sometimes it's like, okay, something must be, like, I'm single and I'm happily single. But sometimes when I tell people I'm single, sometimes they look at me like, something must be wrong if you're single. Why is a guy like you, like, I'm like, nah, ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm cool. I'm happy. I'm chilling,
Good. You're good,
exactly. But yeah, you'd be surprised. You get more attention when they know that you're taken
I've
because
actually, I've
because
actually
being a married man is like being in a spotlight now too. It's like it's a
no,
position.
this is what I'm saying. I've actually tried to. I made the mistake of trying to tell a young lady that I'm married and trying to describe my wife to her and how much I love her and all that kind of stuff. I even mentioned my kids. It worked opposite to anything I thought was going to
It
happen.
doesn't turn them off, it turns them on.
Bro, I was like, what's going on here? I just told you I have a wife and kids.
It
And it
it
just,
makes you
it
more
fueled
attractive.
her, bro. It
It
fueled her.
makes you more attractive.
It was crazy to me, bro. But
It makes you more attractive. Because now for especially for and now we're not talking about quote unquote groupies or
nah,
home wreckers or thoughts that's just trying to or whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm talking about just the psychology of just a grounded high quality woman finds it attractive innately to see a man that not only might be talented, might not only just be successful or accomplished or gifted and all, or has a position or a platform, but like, yo,
he's married.
he's monogamous, he's married, he's got a family,
He's
he's
committed.
handling his business. He
Yeah,
might profess to be a man of faith or a man of God or whatever the case might be. So those qualities are turned on, and you know what I'm saying, and that's just natural, and that's not a bad thing. That's not nothing that we should poo poo. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Just got to be managed.
It's
Correct.
just got to be managed.
Yeah.
Now if they're trying to, they know all this stuff, but yet they're trying to move in. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
That's a whole
nah,
nother
nah.
conversation. But
Well, so let me ask you this. This is going to be a different type of question. Um, Kind of going back to exactly to just music, right? What is your favorite song?
ooh,
Your favorite song, your favorite artist? What's a song when you get to play it? Because like for me,
mhm,
I know certain songs, the minute I hear it, no matter what mood I'm in, that song right there always hits me the same way.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? What song is that for you? Or you love to play, or whatever it is.
If I'm just listening to music,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm listening to certain artists or certain genres, naturally there's certain songs that are like, yo, that's my favorite song that artist does, or that's my favorite song on this album. I can. It's easier for me to tell you specific songs from specific artists, specific genres, or specific albums or specific body of work that I can pinpoint and say, yo, out of that collection,
Mm-hmm.
that's my favorite, or these are my top three, or this is my top five. You know how we make our little playlists or whatever.
Yeah.
That I can do. But when it comes to what's my favorite song to play, my favorite song to play is whatever song I'm playing.
Oh, okay.
I get asked that question a lot when I'm performing. Different people, they'll watch me play or watch me with my band or with whoever. Like, yo, man, what's your favorite song? And I'm like, honestly, whatever song I'm playing in that moment is my favorite song because I feel like this is what I do. I take myself out of the music
Mm-hmm.
and then I put myself in the music when I'm performing. Here's what I mean by that. When I take myself out, I take out my personal preference. I
Yeah.
take out my, because just as a music lover or whatever, or sometimes as a someone that performs a lot. Um, when you're performing a lot and you're performing a lot of the same material a lot, after a while, like certain songs, even if some songs you might have liked at one point, after a while, it's like, man, I'm tired of this song. I did the song like 100 times a year, and or whatever. And but here's the thing: the reason why I take myself out of it, I take out my personal preference or how I feel about the song, or even how I feel in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then I dive into the song all the way in, and I treat that song like it's my favorite song because what you put in it is what you get out of it. And when you treat it like it's your favorite,
Mm-hmm.
then those that you are playing, performing for, or ministering to, they will feel that spirit and that energy that you put into it, because you're treating it like it's your favorite. And therefore, when you treat it like it's your favorite, then you'll perform it and sing it at your best. Yeah. Here's the thing that I always try to tell, other bandmates and other bands that I work with, or other artists or whatever. That specific song may not, specifically if we're talking about, if we're doing cover songs, remakes, popular music, whether it be in the secular arena or in the sacred arena. That particular song may not be your favorite song, but it's somebody's favorite song that's listening to it.
It is.
Or once you listen, or once you perform it like it's your favorite song, then it might turn into someone's new favorite song because of how you performed it. So in that moment, and this is part of being a professional, whether you're a Christian gospel artist or if you're a secular artist, part of being a professional, because you got to be professional when it comes to this thing. Part of being a professional is treating that moment with so much integrity and so much authenticity and so much passion, that even if it's a song that you're tired of singing or playing or performing because you've done it for years, or maybe you never liked that song to begin with, it doesn't even matter. When you're in that moment, you got to treat that song like it's your favorite, because somebody that's watching you or listening to you, for them, it's their favorite.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, if you ask me what's my favorite song to perform, whatever song I'm playing. And if you struggle with that, let's talk about practical. If you struggle with that, then this is what I do. If it's because now most of the songs we do are popular songs, even if it's church songs or whatever, we do a lot of songs that people know. It's on the radio, they charted, Billboard, whatever, top 40, whatever. So what I always try to do, this is a little practical tip for anyone that might struggle with that. Understand this first and foremost. If you're playing a cover song, a popular song, a well-known song, a classic song, or whatever, it became popular for a reason.
Yeah.
There's something about that song that the general audience or the general public liked so much that's what made the song a hit.
Yeah.
You can name the corniest song, and again, the names will be changed to protect the innocent. But you can name me the corniest song. Could have been maybe a one-hit wonder, or from the least talented artist that's ever signed a record deal. It don't matter. If they produced and recorded a song that became a hit, it became a hit for a reason. And the reason why it only became a hit and it became popular was because there's something about that song that people, a populace of people liked about the song. So what I try to do is I try to find something about that song that I like. If it ain't the melody, maybe it's the groove. If it's not the groove, maybe it's that guitar riff.
Yeah.
If it's not the guitar riff, maybe it's a specific chord change. But I try to find something in that song that once we get into that song, the song might be cheesy, but that groove is kind of funky. You know what I'm saying? Or or the groove might be simple and it's kind of repetitive, but the hook is catchy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or there's a harmony that comes on that second chorus. You're like, ooh, I love how that, how those harmonies, sit on top of each other and they're layered, or it might be a signature synth line or a string line or a brass line or whatever. But find something in that song when you're performing that you can connect with. Because once you connect with something about that song, you therefore end up putting yourself, you're not just playing the song, but you're becoming one with the song. And once you do that, that creates this amazing synergy and connection with your audience, because now you don't just look like you're just playing the song or singing the song, but now you look like you believe in, or you're buying into the very thing that you're selling to the masses.
Yo, you're making my podcast, my Haitian accent in my podcast.
Yeah.
You're making this a hit right here, bro.
Bro, come on, man.
Hit.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, bro. I don't know what to say, man.
Oh, come on.
You're blazing right now. You bro, blazing, man.
I'm humbled by that, bro.
Man, let me just move on. I don't have words. I don't have words. If this was Expeditiously and I was T.I., I'd come up with it. But I ain't got no words for this.
Yo, shouts out to T.I. That's one of my favorite rappers.
Yeah, man. I love your show, man.
Oh, absolutely. He does great with that show.
Yeah. Here's
Now,
my
you talking about me, I have words. T.I.'s got some words for you.
Bro.
I mean, his show is called Expeditiously. A man who names his podcast Expeditiously. You know he's got words for you.
He's like the TD Jakes of rappers.
Yo, he be preaching too. T.I. be preaching, brother, on those
Yes.
records. Y'all gotta listen to T.I. I'm trying to tell you.
He does.
T.I. be
Especially
preaching,
when he
bro.
got Killer Mike on there.
Oh, I love Killer Mike.
These guys, they just David Banner.
Especially when they talk about David Banner, especially when they're talking about social awareness and black empowerment. And oh, those guys are amazing when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah,
I follow them and listen to them, and I take a lot of their stuff, a lot of their advice.
Yeah, me too. So here's my last question to you, man.
All right.
My last question is, let me get this straight. I need to get this straight. If you were not a musician, what would you be doing?
It's funny that you asked me that question because I've thought about this recently. So besides doing music, I also do public speaking. You know, like music, I do it in the secular arena as well as in the sacred arena. So not only do I, every so often I get asked to speak at churches or speak for, conferences or workshops and seminars in the church side, but also do it, in the secular side with, for different organizations from time to time. So, which I'm humbled for. And that's something that I love to do, and God willing, I'll be able to do it, more going forward as my career evolves and grows. But if I had to choose another career, I think I'd be a therapist.
Oh, you did say that.
I think I'd be a therapist.
Tell me that,
dude. I'd be giving people couch time for free. That's
true. You did say
people
that.
call me all the time or confide in me, and ask me for advice. A lot of this stuff, and it's funny, and this is how I know it's God. I know it's not me, because people will ask me for advice or just kind of, ask me for counsel for whether it's for music, whether it's spiritual, whether it's for relationships. People ask me for relationship advice. Go figure, right? But relationships, life stuff, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be sharing stuff with them. And then I'd be like hearing some of the stuff I say, and I'd be like, hold up. I know I didn't go to school for this.
Yeah.
Like, I'll say stuff, I'm just like, that was actually pretty good. Like, this gotta be God. I know this ain't me.
Or at least, or sometimes you catch yourself like, yo, maybe I need to do this right here.
Dude, all the time, or something that I'll say that sounded like some sort of morsel of wisdom. And I'm like, oh shoot, I need to write that down and maybe expound on it. And, and so believe it or not, I know you follow me like on social media. A lot of the thoughts that I express on social media, some of my posts, whether it be philosophical or spiritual or relational or whatever, a lot of those were inspired from conversations that I've had from people that came to me because they needed advice or needed counsel or just like encouragement. Because I love to encourage people. I love to lift people up and be motivational and inspirational. And so a lot of those thoughts came from people confiding in me, and plus people know that people that know me know that they can trust me, that what they share with me, I keep it in a safe space. I don't put people's business out. I try to guard what they share with me and not be and not be judgmental, and not be critical. And so I try to pride myself in being that type of safe space for people that share with me, things about them that might be vulnerable or they might be insecure about, or things that they might struggle with. But I just try to just be a good listener, because most of it is like, we talk about the ear being our best instrument. I try to be a good listener, and I try to, by the leading of whatever, God, gives me or unctions me to say or what have you, then I try to, give the best non-biased, objective advice that I can give or counsel, or even if it's just, just being like, hey, yo, I'm here for you, even if it's just sharing empathy, and so, but I find myself enjoying it, because if I say something or if I do something for somebody that uplifts them, that makes them feel better about whatever they're dealing with, or that maybe I said something that they can apply that's going to better them or better their situation, then I'm motivated. I'm fueled by that, and it makes me like look at it like, oh, I need to start taking some of this advice from my own life, And so I think if I had to do another profession, if I wasn't doing music or what I'm doing now, it would probably be a therapist, just charge people $100 an hour for them to spill their guts to me,
Well, with that being said, I want to add. I know I said that was the last question. I got 3 points.
You see, like one of them preachers, like this is my closing, but they got 3 closings.
That being said, there's 2 things I want to talk to you about before we go. One being that it just came to me. I remember now. The first one I want to talk is I would like you to tell me that story, or tell everybody the story of your godson, because that completely blew me away when I found out that a young lady you don't really know, she was your friend, but you didn't know each other for that long, was having a baby and asked you to help her raise the child. And you said yes. And I'm like, this brother crazy. Man, you gonna pay alimony? You have the kid in the weekend.
Pay child support.
Pay child support. 18 years. 18 years.
18 years.
And you knew it wasn't yours.
Found out it wasn't his.
Well, you knew it wasn't yours. So tell us that story, man. How you are an amazing person, bro. You're an amazing person.
I'm humbled by
that,
bro.
And I said this to you before. I would be remiss if I went through this life and didn't get to meet you. And there's very few people that I could say that about. And I really mean it. And this came to me during a time of introspection. I was just thinking about my life. Like being born in Haiti, coming here, what my parents had to do, and all these different different moving here and moving there, and growing up in Brooklyn, then moving to Florida, coming back to New York, and thinking about the people I met along the way. And I'm just like, man, when my mind came to you, my thought was, yo, I know I want to go to heaven and all, but I would not like to pass through this life. It would be a regret for me to pass through this life not having known you because of the person you are. And when I heard that with the child about you, it just reinforced that. I was like, man, we need more people. We need more Black men like yourself in the community. Because while the actual fathers are running away, you're running in. And just as a friend, you're not asking for nothing else, no benefits, no nothing. You're just her friend. So tell me that story. I want people to hear that, man.
All right. Well, first off, let me make sure we get a couple things straight. I'm not gonna let you punk me up right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gonna let you get away with trying to get me my feelings right now. So let's make sure we make that. I'm gonna be a G about it.
About you, man. I'm just saying.
I appreciate it. I love you for it. I'm telling you. I refuse to allow you to give me my feelings right now. So I'm gonna make sure we make that straight. I'm gonna be a G about it. All right.
All right.
That's first and foremost.
Man. Let's go.
So, quick story. So, met a young lady back in 2001. How we met was I was actually introduced to her by someone that a mutual friend that worked at the same job that I had, and so saw a picture of her on my coworker's desk. I was like, "Yo, who's that?" She's like, "Oh, that's my girlfriend." Yada yada yada. I was like, "Yo, she's cute. Yo, you gotta introduce me." And then so she introduced us. We did a blind date.
Okay.
And then we hit it off, but we only like kicked it for a couple months. Nothing serious, it never really got, we never really officially became boyfriend or girlfriend. Just a few dates, but it was cool. Just, again, nothing serious, nothing too crazy. We were, believe it or not, we were never even intimate either, And so it was just really casual, a few dates here and there. And then we mutually decided, she had some stuff going on in her life. I was doing some stuff in my life. So, after a couple of months, that was that,
Yeah.
but again, it wasn't that deep. It was all good, stayed in touch a little bit, but after a while we lost touch for like maybe about a year. And then out of the blue, she gives me a call, says, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something, but I wanted to say it to you face to face, or I wanted to talk to you about it face to face." So I'm like, "Oh, uh-oh." I'm like, "All right." I was like, "All right." Well,
Call you
so we
tomorrow,
meet.
son.
Yeah. So she meets up with me and she says, "Well, I want to let you know that I'm pregnant." So my first expression was, or the first thing I said was like, "Well, I know it ain't my baby."
You got to feed the Shaggy on that, son. It wasn't
It
me.
wasn't me. It wasn't me. And she laughs and she's like, "Of course, silly, it's not yours." Because we were never intimate.
Yeah.
And so, but she's like, "But I wanted you to meet, the father of the child." So I was like, "All right, cool." So long story short, meet the father of the child. And the reason why she wanted me to meet the father was because she wanted to ask me, with his approval, of course, if I could be the godfather of this unborn baby. Blew me away because her and I didn't have a long history. It wasn't like we grew up together or known each other for years, or even when we, casually dated, it wasn't like we dated for a long time or built like a long lasting deep bond or nothing like that. So I was surprised of all the men in her life. She asked me to be the godfather. So I was just like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm surprised that you'd ask me, but sure, why not?" I'm humbled. I'm honored. And so fast forward, the baby becomes born, and I meet the baby shortly after he was born. And I think we were all going out to eat. And everyone, it was me, the baby, the mother of the baby, obviously, and some of her family members. And so I was like, "All right, you guys go ahead and go inside. I need to have a man-to-man talk with the baby." So the baby's literally less than a few days old. He's dribbling, goo goo gagaing, and all that stuff. And I just have a conversation with him. I'm just like, "Listen, so apparently I'm your godfather.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what that means, but just know that whatever you need, I got you. I'm here for you. It's going to be me and you." Basically, that's basically. But little did I know that in that moment, it was almost like we created a covenant. Like I made a
Bond.
established a covenant with him.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so as things were to transpire as he was getting older, his father was not being active in his life. And he became very derelict in his fatherly responsibilities. And so innately, I was like, "All right, well, I became that father figure." And so whatever he needed, I tried to provide that. And then as the years transpired and his father was, not in his life at all, then I became the one that, did all the daddy duties. Uh, if his mom needed some money because he needed Pampers or uh, school clothes, or if he got in trouble in school, I'm at the PTA meetings at 7 o'clock in the morning. You
Wow.
know, the next thing you know, I'm giving him a weekly allowance,
What?
and yeah,
You went ham.
and um, I'm taking him on the weekends. Because
Wait,
I don't
wait,
know if he
hold up,
knows, like for
hold
a
up.
while, he used to come to church with me, and you
Yeah.
know, and
Wait,
and stuff like.
hold on. How did you handle taking them on the weekends when you're playing these gigs?
Well, that was around the time where when either uh, prior to when I was married, I had a roommate.
Uh-huh.
So he was able to stay home with someone that was an adult
Yeah,
until I
yeah.
got back from my shows or whatever. Um, or when I was married, my wife would help with watching him and stuff like that. And
Wow.
so, but I would end up taking him on the weekends, and then he'd come to church with me on Sundays, and then Sundays would normally be like our day. Like after church, we'll go to a sports bar, watch football, or go hang out and do something fun. Maybe hit the movies, hit a arcade or go
Wait, let
karts,
me
do
just
something fun
clarify.
or whatever.
Sports bar after he became a certain age. Yeah.
Well,
Just,
no, no, sports bars let kids come in. You know what I'm
they
saying?
do?
It's a sports bar. It's a sports bar.
Oh yeah.
They can't drink. But they got TV, so we're
Okay.
watching games and playing
Yeah,
foosball or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like, so he he wasn't like chugging, Miller Lite or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Taking shots at the bar. It wasn't nothing like that. He was eating his chicken tenders
Chicken
and
nuggets.
sipping on Sprite.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd go to his football games and all of his milestones, graduations, birthdays, all those different things like that. I was there front row and center. And so, he just turned 18 this year. I'm there when he's getting his driver's license. I'm there to teach him how to put on a tie for his prom and all these different things. And so, when people find out about that, or when people say that, say whatever they say about how awesome it is that I do that for him, honestly, it has less to do with how awesome I am and has more to do with how awesome he is.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, and a lot of people, especially those women that I've dated, that couldn't grapple with the idea that how, even though they love the idea that I'm involved in another woman's son's life, but how can I be so involved in his life and not be involved with the mother?
Yeah.
And me and the mother, we're like great friends. We're really close friends. But since that early stage, when we first met and we dated for a couple months or whatever, we've never kissed, never got intimate, never crossed that line, never talked about it, never engaged in it or anything like that. And my godson knows that. And I think that's why he respects me and honors me and appreciates the role that I play in his life, because it's not incentivized by me having an intimate relationship with his mother. Because every other guy that she may have dated or been involved with, she was married prior or whatever, they because they were in a relationship with her, then that was the reason why they would try to be engaged with him.
Yeah.
But he knows that I'm engaged with him because of him, not because I'm incentivized, because I'm intimately involved with his mother. And so it just kind of became this relationship. So he's my son.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. That's your son.
Yeah, that he's not mine, but he's mine.
Yeah.
And so, and I've always said this, especially prior to him becoming an adult now, and even to this day, God forbid, if anything would ever happen to his mom, this would not even be a discussion. Like, he's coming with me.
Yeah.
He's coming with me. Like, he's coming home with me. That's my boy. And I've been, for whatever reason, and for whatever reason, again, it's not so much about how great I am. It's all honestly because of how great he is. And so that's my boy. And I always get a little emotional when I start talking about him, because I love him like he's mine, so.
Wow, man. Wow. I mean, that's the grace of God, man. That is not something easy for even fathers to do, as So I'm thankful for you, man. And I
I'm
know
thankful for you, bro.
he and his mother are even more thankful. You know, you inspire me in more ways than just music.
Wow.
More ways than just music. Like you were saying, the likability factor is who you are is what draws people to you, man. And we hung out for years when I was in Florida. We hung out for years, and I see how people gravitate to you. You're always happy. You're always encouraging people, even when you're going through tough times. You're uplifting other people. You don't let that stop you from doing what needs to be done. And the closest other person in my life I know is like that is my mom. My mom came here with a fifth grade education from Haiti, and now she owns investment properties, and she's just graduated high school about 3 years ago, and now she wants to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
She just turned 67 last week.
Amazing.
And her thing is never stop learning.
Yeah.
Never stop learning.
Absolutely.
So all those years she struggled, was a CNA, and did all kinds of work, backbreaking work to get the family through. Not to discount my dad because he did his part too. He was there,
Absolutely.
you know. But her attitude about how she's feeling, being able to separate her feelings with doing what needs to be done is bar none, man. And so when I feel like I'm discouraged, I think of my mom. I see her sitting there as trying to figure out how to do fractions and not knowing what she's doing, but she's not getting off that table until she figured something out. And you remind me of that, man. And that's huge to me. So before I make you cry, I'm gonna ask you a question.
You're not making. I'm not punking up on this people's Zoom meeting. I'm
Zoom
not
meeting,
punking up
son.
in this people's Zoom meeting.
Why
You're not gonna
music?
make me do it.
This is the Oprah Why Music, Barbara Walters special. Gonna make y'all cry. um, why music, man? I mean, know your story, heard you. Why music? Why? Why music? Could have been a therapist. I know what you went through it with your dad, how your dad encouraged you, and all the experience you had. Why music? Why haven't you just like, man, I need a day job. This is too hard. All this networking, all this people taking advantage of me here, all this politics and all. Why music?
Beyond just the fact that I just love music, whether I'm playing it, producing it, or just listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about music more so than anything else is that uh, it has this unifying power where uh, music becomes this universal language that brings all types of people from all various walks of life together,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it doesn't matter what gender you are, how old you are, what ethnicity or nationality that you are. Um, I think Bob Marley was the one that said, "Music is the only thing that when it hits you, you feel no pain."
Yes.
You know, and so I just love the effect, the positive effect that it has on not just making people feel some type of way,
Mm-hmm.
but I love how, especially when I see it from a musician standpoint, from a performing standpoint, whether I'm a performer or a producer or just playing it, um, I love seeing how music brings people together. And you could be, especially during the climate of the country now, where we're so divided, especially politically, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever. Um, Something about music, man, it brings people together. You know, you could be a black artist performing to a majority white crowd and vice versa, you know, or,
Yeah.
and uh, when I see that it has such an effect on people, where if it's a happy song, it makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if it's a sad song, it tugs at your heartstrings, if it's uh, if it's a song to get you crunk, it makes you feel like dancing and
Mm-hmm.
turning up and having a good time,
Yeah.
or it makes you feel like dancing, you know, or some songs they make you feel like it makes you introspective and makes you think and makes
Yeah.
you, you know, see things in a different light, um, or especially I love how music is used in the church arena where it becomes this instrument that draws people closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, they might not be able to remember, you know, the three main points that their pastor preached last week, but they might remember that lyric from a song that, that uplifts their heart. That, if they're feeling sad or distraught or depressed, the right song, what I'm saying, fills your heart with joy,
Mm-hmm.
or it, just lifts your spirits, and so I love that power that music has on people. And so when when you ask me why music, my answer to you is actually another question. Why not music?
Hmm.
You know, I
That's
got to show you this quick story, and before we go, there was a philosophy professor at a college that was passing out a written exam. It was a final exam to his students, and the exam only had one word. I'm sorry, one question, only one word. That one worded question was why. That's it. That was the only question that was on that final exam.
mhm.
And so all the other students, the majority of all the students, wrote out these long dissertations, 2,000 words, 3,000 words, all these, philosophical, existential
Mhm.
thoughts and ideas, and just these long dissertations and different, multiple paragraph statements and answers as to why. They all failed except for one student. The one student that passed the final exam simply answered, why not?
Wow.
So when it comes to music, it's not so much why did I choose music, or why do I love music, or why do I use music as a means to try to achieve my purpose in life. I think for me, it's more so why not music?
Why not? Man, that's deep, man. That's really deep. I think I was talking to my music teacher at a studio session last Saturday because he's recording a jazz album. And we're just talking in between takes or whatever. And I looked at him because I was thinking about the music and listening to the music he was playing. And I just turned to him and said, man, you know, my biggest fear of dying is not dying or even going to hell, as a Christian.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is that if and when I die, I will not be able to hear music. And I realized that sitting at the place,
Mm-hmm.
all these other fears that I had about dying traumatically or whatever, none of that to me compares to not being able to participate in and hear music. That really struck me. I did not know that about myself until that moment. So let
Well,
everybody know where they can find
let
you.
hold up. Don't forget that when we when we go to heaven, not if we go to heaven, but when we go to heaven, there has to be music up there,
That's true.
because when Lucifer was up there, apparently he was the chief musician, and
That's
he was the musical director and the choir director and the lead worship leader, in heaven. So if that was the case, and if God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, then if there was music back then in heaven, there'll be music when we get up there. So the good news, my friend, is
facts.
that we might die, but music will never die.
Facts. Man, you trying to make me cry. Tell the people, tell the people where to
Got you.
find you, man.
Payback, brother. That's what you call payback. It's the pig
You
payback.
trying to out sharpen me, a gotcha moment. Nah, B. Man, enough of it.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yo, tell the people where they could find you, man. I gotta wrap this up.
Oh, for sure. On Facebook, you can find me under Richard Estime. On Instagram, you can find me under Rich, RICH .e.rich underscore. So rich .e.rich underscore, basically Richie Rich. So, and on Instagram, you can find me at Randy Watson Tour, Randy Watson Tour on Instagram, or at Richard underscore Estime. But yeah, the Randy Watson World Tour is coming to a city near you. I believe the children are the future.
Yes,
Teach
sir.
them well and let them lead the way.
Yeah. Sexual chocolate or heavenly
Sexual chocolate.
chocolate with Kurt Franklin.
Absolutely. I played Joe the policeman on the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama.
Yo, that's it for today's episode, our very first episode of the YI Music Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, man, for making this a hit. Thank you for bringing me more than just 0 subscribers. The button is down there, people.
Don't forget to click like, click subscribe, and share to all your friends on all social media platforms.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I am humbled and honored of all the people. Again, I can't stress this enough and say this enough. Of all the people that you could have asked to be a part of your launch, to be a part of your pilot, you asked me, not because I'm the best or the most accomplished or the most successful. And I am humbled, honored, and I thank God for having a brother like you in my life. You know, if anybody knows Paskinel, he's not only one of the best guys that you'll ever meet, but for me personally, it's good to have people in your corner that celebrate you, that uplift you. You know, we bust a lot of jokes, and I always feel better after I talk to you or after hanging out with you than I was, you know, coming in. And you have that amazing effect on me, and I know you have that amazing effect on other people. So I thank God for you, and I thank God for this platform, and appreciate you for having me on, man.
Yeah, appreciate you for coming, man. Appreciate you a lot, man. I was pushing people back. I was like, nah, man.
Oh, wow.
Next week, can we do this? Can we do that? I was scheduling this thing around you, man, because it meant that much to me, man. It meant that much to me. Because I'm getting over a fear doing this podcast, and I wanted you to be there with me, man. I wanted to do it with you, man. Man, listen, we gotta go.
For sure.
Gotta go pick up the kids.
Absolutely.
All that fatherly stuff.
Yeah, man. Send my love to the family, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, listen, have a good day, man. Have a good night. Enjoy. Stay up.